Hi everyone, welcome to our Claris FileMaker training course on how to build a custom CRM in 30 days. This training is designed primarily for beginners or those of you who need kind of a refresher with the Claris FileMaker platform. Over the course of 30 days, we're going to spend about an hour each day covering topics from the very basics of the Claris FileMaker platform in terms of the tools, the products, deployment, security, all those things you need to know about as you build a custom application. So keep in mind that towards the beginning of the training, the topics are more basic in nature. And as we get towards the end of the training, they're somewhat more advanced, I would say probably intermediate level topics. Now keep in mind this special part of this training is that while we're not only talking about the FileMaker platform, we're talking how you can rapidly customize an existing free CRM that you can download today. It's unlocked. So taking that CRM and customizing it to your organization's particular needs. Now, a couple important links to keep in mind. One is that if you need a copy of FM Starting Point, the free unlocked CRM, visit fmstartingpoint.com and press the button. And then our system will shoot you an email with the current links to that CRM. If you're looking for additional FileMaker training, visit fmtraining.tv and press the bundles button. And that will allow you to get more of this highly animated and somewhat energetic training material to help you through the learning process with the Claris FileMaker platform. Lastly, if you have questions about the FileMaker platform or you're looking for some additional help, maybe some one-on-one coaching help, feel free to email us at support@rcconsulting.com. So Ruben, you had questions yesterday about things that can be shared between two multi-file solutions. So this is, I say, a solution. Say these two files are connected together. I don't think that they are, but if they were, what can you share between the two? Okay. Even if say you open up yesterday, we discussed this. Actually, I'll go back and see if I can. Let me see if I can pop these back up here. This is our two sample files that we had yesterday. They're not remotely real, but this would be kind of a solution where we said, well, maybe Amazon having a CRM and Amazon having warehouse fulfillment would be two different files because that has certain benefits. And if you had a really, really, really big company with thousands of people accessing it simultaneously, Amazon's actually much bigger than that. But if you had like Bank of America, we were doing warehouse fulfillment for Bank of America, because they would be supporting all their retail locations from this warehouse. So if they needed a new phone system or something, they would put an order in and the order would come in and then they would fulfill it out to that branch, that Bank of America in Boise, Idaho, or in Tampa, Florida, or wherever the hell you're at. So anyway, so if we pop this solution over, and I believe this one was admin, we pop this open. We talked about how you can connect the two files together by going File, Manage, External Data Source, okay? And so you have the file right here connected. This is how normally you would connect it. So let's talk about this. Two ways of doing connections. This is an implicit connection. So when this file opens up, it will implicitly open the other file in the background. Once again, we talked about this yesterday. The implicitly open file will be hiding over here, actually right here. It should say implicitly open. So I opened our internal finished goods system. When I did that, it opened up like 3 other files. When I just opened up the Amazon warehouse fulfillment, then it has a dependency on the Amazon CRM. It opens that up, okay? So if you go through this process of having an external data source, at any given time, when FileMaker feels like it, it's going to try to demand you open that other file up, which means both files need to be in close proximity to each other, or both files need to be on the internet on different servers that can be accessed. So let's talk about what can be shared in this situation. So if I have these two files and they're loosely talking to each other, we have this file over here, this file over here. If you have data over here and you have data over here and you establish, once again, establishing that external connection does not, that what you just saw, establishing the manage external data sources, that doesn't set a relationship. This simply identifies a potential spot where a relationship could come from. So you set this up, so this file is aware of this file. Got it. I'm aware of the file, okay? Then if you go to File, Manage, Database, You can come over to relationships, and now you have a relationship. It's in italics. This is a certification test question. If it's in italics, it is not local to this. Italics doesn't mean it's ODBC or ESS or anything like that. It just means that it's external to this file. So if I'm in manage the diagram right here, this diagram is specific to this file over here. I can't really go into this file and do the data relational diagram on it at the same time, but theoretically, in an ideal world, you could click over here, go to File Manage Database, and you would see that file's internal guts. You see its tables, its fields, and its own relationships. Make sense? So the relationship graphs aren't shared. 1. 2, if you have global fields and global variables on one side, they are not shared across the file. Okay? 2, if you have custom functions on one side, those custom functions are available to that file. This file over here might have 20 or 30, 100 tables. You do a custom function. Anywhere in here, including any script setter in here, can access that custom function. Even though I am connected on this side, both with the external data source and a relationship, I cannot access that custom function. In fact, I'm pretty sure, in fact, we should test this. So let's just test this because I don't know, I don't do a ton of multi-file solutions. Kyle probably knows the answer to this already. If I'm over here and I'm in context, and actually we want to be in invoices because that's what we established a link here. In fact, this is the data right here. If I put hello in here, it should probably cross-populate over here. Commit the record. Yeah, so this is the link right here. So if I have a global over here, so I go to fields, I go to invoices, I say G, Kyle. Create. Once you create it, you go to options, you're going to say storage option, you're going to say use global storage. I say okay, I say okay. It puts it on the thing, on the layout, puts it on the thing. Puts it on the layout. Is it down here? It might be. Yeah, there it is. It's hiding in the dark crevices of the moon. Hang on one second. Let me move it up so I can grab it. Yeah, it's kind of invisible. There we go. So I'm going to put it right somewhere like right here where it will be legit. Okay, browse mode. So I'm going to say, wow, yo dog. And I'll type in there. So we have yo dog in there. If I'm over here, can I grab the global field? So I go down to G. If it's under by G, there's G Kyle. Can I bring it up? Does it work? So I can bring up global fields between the two if you have a relational connection, okay? That allows you to have data in both places and you're sharing this data, which is great. Global variables don't share. I'm pretty positive about that. Global variables are only visible in the current file, whereas global field, yep. So that's what Kyle beat me to it a minute ago. So that's what I was saying. So if you have multi-file solutions, you start to learn all the kinks. The bigger problem, you can work around the globals. You can work around the custom functions. You can copy and paste custom functions from one place to another place. It's not that hard. The hard part of this, the part that's difficult that you will regret rapidly, is the security. Having to maintain the security on multiple files, especially if your solution has 20 files. Like we had a customer and they kept saying, hey, we need you to work on this. And they go, and they come to me and they say, yeah, it's always a warning sign when you're hired by a customer and the customer says, yeah, our 5 previous developers quit and refused to work on this, and they were all mean people, okay? That's a clue that maybe it's more than that they were just mean people. So we have this customer, I'm not going to pick, I don't remember their name, and they had this solution that they've been hobbling along for 30 years, and I had a couple engineers who would support this thing, and they said it was beyond ancient decrepit, and the lady was just trying to sell the company to someone else and walk away, and that was her goal. And I think she ended up doing that, but we would do a little bit of support. But I mean, we're talking repeating fields, multi-file solutions, security everywhere. And it was lacking general data integrity. The word data integrity means that the data should not randomly change due to unexpected or illogical actions that happen in the system. So that's his question right here. So then to segue into this, because it came up with Lonnie, if I pivot to Lonnie's questions right here, and then I'm going to pivot to Elliot. Do you see global fields in both files because you use the same user account? No, it's not. Okay, back to Ruben. So Ruben's got a question on topic. So before I move forward on this, I got the file here, I got the file here. I could see the global through the relationship, right? So I'm getting this global through the relationship I set up. If I go to manage, and I'm going to do this destructive thing on this. If I go to manage data, I go to database over here. I go to relationships, and I break that. So I break the relationship. It's still, the TO is still referenced here. So this is interesting, okay? Like, at what point do globals quit becoming available, right? So the TO is here from the other file. The relationship is broke. Now we know that any normal data, text, number fields, date fields, anything that's not a global is for sure not going to come through, probably. So let's verify unrelated table. So let's go to layout mode. I still see yo dog on here. Let me just for fun drag down another field. I see another field over here. I say built to city, state, whatever. I go browse, unrelated table. Great. But the yo dog is still here. Okay. So I'm going to change this to 5-star, or just put dollar signs in here because Kyle's making the big bucks now. Watching up here to see if it changes. So it still works. The TOs are in both places. There's no relationship. That's good. Go over here, back to field definitions. Again, I'm going to get rid of the table occurrence and remove them all on the diagram. So now, this file here is aware of the other file because it's in manage external data sources. It still sees the other file, but there's no TOs on its graph. So if I come over here to Kyle, and so let's just say that whatever, if I double click it, so in order to get access to that global, you have to have it at least as an unrelated table. A global can be accessed. Remember, globals are universal in the file. You don't have to access them through relationship. They're universally available. When I say global, I'm talking about global field, okay? But you have to at least have a TO on there to get you on base, right? Yeah, so that is the subtle difference there. You guys may be running this every day. I don't run into this every day because I really try to stay the hell away from multi-file solutions. Yesterday, we spent time talking about where multi-file is useful. I'm not going to retread those steps. So if Ruben is good for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot to bring up my Slack here. I'm going to pivot to some Lonnie action. So I got Lonnie action going on right here. So he has some general questions. So regarding questions about loops. So we're talking about scripts with loops. If I declare a local variable, then I enter a loop. Okay. So what are the rules with local variables is that they are available and consistent within that script. Within that specific script. If you define $Kyle in a script, and then the script ends, $Kyle is disbanded and terminated. If you're in the script, you define $Kyle and you call another script. When you're in that other script, $Kyle doesn't exist. $Kyle only exists from within the script from where it was defined. Okay. Could you have $Kyle here and $Kyle here on the subscript? Yes, but they are really two separate fields. If you do, I'm going to speak frankly. If you do like that, you're asking for your head to explode off your head, and with confusion and doubt and sorrow and depression, and so you don't want to be that person. So I recommend that you try to keep the variables a little bit unique to where they're going, and you don't use exactly the same obscure name on local variables and parallel scripts. So I can see where Lonnie was going with this. Like, what if you define it in a script and then down in the same script you do a loop? Doesn't matter. It's still available in there. Okay. Within the loop, I call another script and I populate the local variable first established. So this is what I was just saying. He's asking a different way. But if I have over here, I say $Kyle, then I do a loop. I say $Kyle equals $Kyle plus 1, and it goes in a loop, and $Kyle keeps getting bigger. Then I go over this other script over here, and I define $Kyle equal to 12. I come back over here. Those $2 Kyles are different $Kyles. Okay. So Lonnie, you're literally driving in a car blindfolded, drunk, with no seatbelt on when you do the stuff like this, because you got to keep it straight in your head, and so mechanically I'm telling you they're separate, but I wouldn't use the same name on there if at all possible. If you want, If you want $Kyle to be accessible across all the scripts, it's not a local variable. It's not $Kyle. It's $Kyle. Okay, I know a lot of you understand that, but this is, I've said this a lot before, but this is one of those things. Why do I repeat myself? Because we've covered this before, and I'm not picking on Lonnie. I'm also an instructor in a helicopter, right? Working on that. And when I get in a helicopter and I'm teaching people how to fly, if I give them 5 facts, and we fly for an hour, they can only handle about an hour flying. Ken Tooley understands how this works. You land, they're going to remember, if you're lucky, 2 of the 5 things you told them. Now, if you remind them of the same 5 tomorrow, they'll go, oh yeah, you said that. But they will only retain some of it. When I'm an instructor, you're instructing, I give you 5 things about variables. You're only going to remember 2 of the 5 items. You'll have a great day if your student remembers half of the material. That's why I repeat it. Some of you are going, Richard, you already did this. Yes, I know, because it's not for you. You're brilliant. Okay. I'm talking about the people who heard 5 things and remembered 2. I'm the same way. You give me 5 facts. We put me into an F-18 Super Hornet in the back seat or in the front seat. I'm learning to fly the F-18 Super Hornet. Could totally do it. The instructor gets in there, gives me 5 things. I'm going to remember 1 or 2 of those after the fact because my brain is being overwhelmed. So Margaret, go.
There's a question from Lewis. Similarly to custom functions, would add-ons also not be shared across files?
No, add-ons are absolutely file specific. In fact, we've covered, we spent a lot of time doing like a whole week of add-ons with Christian Schmidt and the Wolfpack talking about that. When you do an add-on installation, it's really a 2-step process. The first step is that it adds the add-on out of wherever the add-on's at and it sticks it in the file. And then step 2 is you drag it on the layout and it finishes adding the rest of the add-on relative to that layout and to that table occurrence. So it's a 2-step process. Step 1 makes it available in the file. So if you want the same add-on to be available in the other file, you're going to have to drag it onto that separate file and go through that whole process all over again. Good, great question. Excellent question. Will you lose the values of the local variables? So once again, so here's the thing. If I defined $Kyle in a script and say maybe it's not even the first script, maybe the script is that we're running here. Let me make my hand bigger. I'm going to wave my hand around here a little bit. So I have a script here, but let's say we start here. First script runs here. It's running and it fires over to the next script. So script 1, script A, script B. Script B is going to do some looping. $Kyle here is different than $Kyle here. Okay. This script here then runs C, so A, B, C over here, it runs over here, $Kyle's over here. If I come back here, it restores whatever that value was. It never went away, right? So if I go back and forth here, or go back and forth over here, for some reason it comes back. As long as it comes back to that script, $Kyle, and you're running part of the same script. Let's define a term I'm going to call it a script process. The script process, like a script session might be a better word, session is a correct term, is that when you start running a script, you're in a script session until that script session ends where FileMaker says, I'm done running scripts. So it preserves the value until it gets to the end of that script session, and then it dumps all the locals, all the local variables. It dumps all those. Make sense? Yes? Yeah, so Kyle points out that if you're, besides my hand waving, if you're using the data viewer to watch this, once again, I'm over here and I don't really have any scripts designed, but if you come over here and you go, once again, tools, the data viewer right here. So as you watch a script, this shows you the current values at the current moment in time, the current context. So if I have 3 scripts over here, right? I lost the data viewer. There it is right here. Okay, I'm on script A. It's going to show and I pause it. It'll show me all the data related to script A, including the local variables. If I jump to B, from A, I jump to B. It will not show me A anymore because I'm in B. It's going to show me the data related to B. If I jump back to A, the screen will change and show me the data that's available related to A. Okay, and once the script's totally finished, that script session, that script process, that maybe takes a half a second, it will kind of purge the local variables. Okay, cool. Moving on. Next question from the Lonnie. Any other questions on this one specifically? Any questions, Margaret? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot to It's a really good question by Elliot. I've covered this before. The topic that Elliot asked me to cover is multi-table imports from an Excel file. Okay, so what I'm going to do is he gave me a sample file here. So if I go to Slack, I'm going to bring it over here. Here's a sample file here. And the short version is that the problem is that a lot of people start off their business with Excel and they're doing Excel stuff. So what I want to say is when I got the spreadsheet from Lonnie, it was all this stuff right here, okay? And so he has a grade level of the students. He has a student's name. He also has a parent's name. And so this is kind of an interesting conversation. So it's an Excel spreadsheet that doesn't immediately easily just dump into FileMaker because there's a lot of multiple tables here. So let's talk about table creation for the moment. Grade level, student first name, student last name, student ID. Okay, let's all agree that we could create a students table. So I'm just going to build this in real time while we're doing this. I'm just going to crank this out. I'm not going to use a CRM or something like that to save time. We're going to do it the old-fashioned way. Walk 5 miles in the snow barefoot, uphill both ways. I'm going to call it Elliot. Okay. And so first off, I have an Elliot table. I'm just going to delete the Elliot table. I don't need an Elliot table. Okay. In fact, they're relationships. Let me get rid of that. So now it's totally clean. I'm going to go to tables and we're going to establish up front that we have students. So I'm going to say create a student table. I'm going to also specify that probably we have a parent table. Now the rub with parents is that we have kind of this like dynamic world that we live in. Parents will frequently have the different name from the kid. And so we have to have a way of kind of classifying these to a degree, but there's some sort of guardian. We'll call it a guardian. Okay. Guardians of the children. Okay. Or non-adults. So we have guardians. We're going to create that too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into fields real quick and I'm just going to delete all the fields because Claris does auto fields in here and it makes a mess and it's just better for me to delete all this. So what I'm going to start off with is I'm going to start with students. I'm going to go to student. I'm going to say ID student. I'm going to say it's a number field. I'm going to say create. I'm going to say options. It'll be a serial number that auto enters. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do STU and a 1 on it for student. And then I'm going to come back over here and change it to text. Okay. Once again, this is for sake of clarity. So you have a student with a student ID number. I'm going to say name first, name last, LAST. And then maybe grade level, and they could change. The grade levels could change years to years, Elliot, obviously. So you'd want to kind of, not a conversation I'm going to have at this moment, but you'd have some sort of progress that you would monitor over the course of the year, right? So then we have guardian. So guardian is going to be, save the change. I'm going to have ID guardian or birthing person, right? I'm going to say text. I'm going to say create. I'm going to say options. So this will be one human. Serial number GUARD1. Okay. They will have 2 records that are attached for each of the 2 guardian type people. So I'm going to create an ID foreign key. So the foreign key, so we can attach a student to the guardian. Okay. And actually, this gets kind of more interesting than that. But your ID student can attach the guardian, which is great. For the moment, we'll just assume that they could have 1 student in the system, not more than 1 student, okay? So this is this kind of structural thing that we're getting into. We have a layout called Elliot. We don't need that. Delete Elliot. There we go. Students, guardians, makes sense, okay? You could have I tell you, probably it would only be 1 or 2. You could have 2 related. Yeah, so you could have like a portal. So if we did a relationship here, because a student could have a relationship from the ID student to the ID student foreign over here, right? So if the guardian is a student, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm spending a little time kind of wrestling with this a little bit for the benefit of Elliot. Elliot, if you have guidelines along the way here, because we're trying to get to a point where we can do an import, okay? I'm going to say there's a portal. I'm going to drag a portal on here. I'm on student. I'm going to say, show me the guardians. right, which is great. What I need to do is add a couple fields to the Guardian. So I have, oh yeah, what I want to do is go to fields, the Guardian. I want to say first name, last name, create. And the Guardian might have a phone, email. It doesn't really particularly matter, okay? I say, okay, come back over here. These are the fields that we want to put in the portal. Move. Okay, so now they're up here. Of course, they don't have any labels on them, which is just Jim Dandy. I'll put that right there, put it up here. So you get the kind of the idea right there, okay? Browse mode. So if I have I have to create a record, new record. I got Stu1. Student's name is Margs, okay? Grade level, where are you at, Margaret? Like 12, 13, 14, you're 15 or 16.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I'll leave you at 16 for now. Okay, now in the relationship, I go File, once again, Manage Relationship. I'm doing this kind of keyboard shortcut, Command or Control, Shift D on your Mac or Windows computer. Relationships, looks good. The problem is I can't automatically forcibly create a parent from here. So I'm going to tell it to allow creation of related data. I'm simply going to say, please don't turn on deleted items in here. They won't behave the way you expect, and bad things will happen to your data. Just don't do it, okay? I've proven it over and over again. It's in my book if you have any questions about that. So I'm over here and I'm going to say, and so she has a phone number of whatever, right? So now we have this data. So the question is, we come over here, we've identified this data here that belongs with this data here. These are going to go into a different table. I'm not sure what the order is here. And this gets into some additional imports for some financial stuff that has to occur, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 imports and I'm going to populate the data. Now here is the trick, okay? We have to understand that this student here belongs to this parent here, okay? So I'm just going to, is this a calculation? I'm just going to say actually, this could be Richard, I guess, right? I guess, and last name, is it last name together? Oh, no, that's a combination. First name, last name. Where are the parents in here, Elliot? I thought you said there are parents in here somewhere. I think that's meant to be your combined name for the student, right? That's not the parent?
Parents weren't included, apparently.
Well, then I'm going to use parents for the moment, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, because the concept's the same. The important essential element we're about to get to is it's the coup de grace, as we say. It's the essential secret sauce that makes this work, okay? So parent name. Here's the rub. I'm going to put over here, I'm going to put Steve Allen is one of my engineers. Once upon a time, I had a Steve Allen and a Nathan Allen in my company. Not only that, there were 2 of them. There was 2 Steve Allens in my company and 2 Nathan Allens in my company, and none of them were related. And 2 of them actually had the same middle initial. So over here we have the parent name. Let's assume the parent name, this is going to be parent name first, okay? And I'm going to say this is Richard, okay? Actually, that's great, Richard. And then I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this. I'm going to say insert. And I'm going to insert a whole row, and I'm going to say second parent name first. Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh, it's getting exciting. Here's the rub: is that you could say, well, I'm going to establish that the identifying piece between these 2 people is the name Steve Allen, except that I can point out time, and I have not a giant company, 30-some people, whatever it is. And I have 2 people with exactly the same initials or name for that matter. And so it gets to a point where you start using social securities, but those are supposed to be secret. So you need some other way of doing this. So then over here, I'm going to say this is Lonnie and Elliot. Okay, so Elliot and Lonnie are the guardians of this other Steve Allen. Kind of a problem. So the thing is, if I do an import here, right, I'm going to go and just do this import real quick. I'm going to save this. So basically, I'm in the same place. I'm going to save the file. I don't want it to save it as numbers, so I'm going to give me an expanded opportunity here. I want to save it as, if I save it as numbers, can I save it? What I need to make sure that I save it as advanced, save export to, I'm just going to export as CSV. So once again, include the table name, whatever, next. Hopefully this does what it's supposed to do. Okay, so now I'm going to go into our database and go through the import process. File, import. Now, ideally, let me just do this correctly. I'm going to do it in a script step, okay? I'm going to say a new script step. The reason I'm doing this is it allows me to save the import order, and if FileMaker crashes, I don't have to redo it all over again. So I'm going to say import student, okay? And I'm going to say import. I see Discord flashing, Margaret, let me know if it's something I need to engage on, okay? The data source should be over here. I'm going to say I'm looking for the student. Isn't that called student? All available. Copy of student pictures. This is it right here. It's a CSV. I'm going to say open. That's the file. Then I'm going to say, I could try that to see what happens. Specify the import order. We're going to add records right here. We've kind of covered all this before, but what I want to do is come down here and say I got grade level. So right here I want to say, name first. Is that the student's name in my database? And I don't have a student ID yet. So what I have is name first. What I can do over here is I can come over here. I can say manage database for student. I'm going to come over here, say fields. I want a name first, name last, create. Okay. Okay. Come back here. I'm going to say name last right here. So name first, name last. It's going to import this data right here. Okay, great. We have that. It's going to import. It'll auto create, perform the auto enter options. That's interesting. Little artifact. I say okay. So now I've saved this. I saved the script. So if I crash, I can start again from that spot. I'm going to tell it to play. So I've got 33 names in here. I need to put over here. I got the grade level. Grade level. I want to put the name last right here. So we have that. A lot of you are horribly bored. Hopefully Elliot's following me. So I've got the first record here, which is a throwaway record. Next running, I got Steve Allen here. Now here's my rub. If I go to the parents, the guardians, and I do an import, right? I got the import over here. I got the import guardian. I got the import student. I'm going to drag over here. I want the first, nope. I'm going to do, let me bring it up here. I got first name, last name, phone, email. Okay. I'm going to drag these over here. Okay. The rub is that I can do an import into Guardian. Okay. I can do an import into Guardian. In fact, I'm going to delete these records so we don't confuse us. The problem is that we have to populate the ID of the student. We have to populate the ID of the student's foreign key. So what I did in the spreadsheet when it first came across, when I first got it, you didn't see me do this, I did this a little bit ago, is I create a new column here and I just put a serial number in here, a spinning serial number, okay? And the spinning serial number just, so it's unique. So this is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. I could populate this with something else if I wanted, right? But I wrote a formula right here that you could either do a serial number or something, but you need something that will be uniquely identified. I'm not even quite sure how to get rid of this. Oop, X, get rid of that, cancel. You need something that will uniquely identify it because I have two Steve Allen. Steve Allen happens to be ID 1 and ID 10. So my problem is that right now I've got myself into a bad spot because if I'm going to leave this window open, I'm going to pop a new window. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say this is a student. So I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to have these are the guardians. Okay. So the guardian students. Okay. And I don't have any way of really attaching them right now because I could do an import, but nothing will connect. Nothing is connected. How do you connect it? You have to get that student number into there. And so what we need to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to delete all the records. I'm going to delete all the records. Once again, careful with this script step, delete all. I got one left in there. I'm going to go and delete it. So I have no records in here. I'm going to go to script workspace. I'm going to bring back my script. I'm going to click on, I'm going to say adjust the import order. What I want to do is I want to come over here to if I flip through here, see right there, you see the 1, 2, 3. So that first column is that little serial number I created. So in this first column right here, I want to import the ID student, okay? And I'm going to say, whoop, it went away. Nope, import ID student, and it's set to import. So now it's going to import the ID. Here's the rub. If I do an import right now and I have this turned on, checked on over here, the ID student will auto-populate. It will overwrite. It will overwrite my value, right? So watch what happens. So it's going to bring across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then at the speed of light, it's going to erase those numbers and put those other ones in there. I'm just going to go ahead and do it real quick. I'm going to run it. I'm going to play the script, and down over here, you're going to see that it didn't overwrite it. Why did it not overwrite it? It shouldn't have overwritten that. Do I have this wrong? On commit. So it auto-entered it. Okay, this is the part you got to be careful with, okay? So it has to do with on that commit. What you want to do is enforce that these numbers here actually show up over here. They just did that. Last time I did this demo, I did it in FileMaker 17 with the, there we go. There's Kyle's got the formula over there on Discord if you want to share that. But the last time I did this with 17, it behaves slightly differently. It's a new import dialog. So what I have is number 1 here. Those numbers are preserved. That's a good import. What I didn't want to do is have it be student and some other thing like that, because this, now we're going to do an import with this column right here, and then we're going to import the parent column right there. And so we bring across the student ID and it forces that, right? So it forces kind of that lock on. This is the critical part. You have to have this common reference point, and it can't be the name. So it could be the student serial, social security. If you have that, some sort of guaranteed unique item that will never be duplicated and that each one of them will have. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come back over here. This was a 1. This is a 2, 3, 4. Once again, data all matched. If I go down to 10, there's Steve Allen, but his parents aren't here. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click on this layout just to help me out. I'm going to say File. I'm going to go to Script Workspace, and I'm going to do it here. I'm going to say Import. Take this script. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to say Import. There we go. Import parent 1. Okay. So I have a script here, script here. They look the same. I'm going to put them, make them slightly different. So this one here, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to same file, but I want to import a different data. So I'm importing student ID is going into there, but I want to import into Guardian. I want to importing Guardian now. So ID Guardian, we don't want that. I want to import into ID student right here. Grade level, we don't import. This is the first and last name of the parent. Okay. So but this is, well, that's what this is over here. This is a student. We have the parent first name right here, which is what we want to target. So I'm going to say first name. Okay. There's no last name. Do I have a phone on here? Do I have a phone? Do we have any phones? Oh, it looks like you were selling other stuff. That's cool. For school photos, right? Can't tell you how many times I got in trouble with having the stupid look on my face from my mom for having the school photo. I'm 50 years old, and I can remember her going like this. It's not an appropriate family photo for you to be on the wall. So student ID, right? Over here is that serial number right here. So I don't really have I'm going to say don't import right here. Don't import. Don't import. So I'm getting the student ID, which keeps us locked on. We don't want the student's name. We want the student ID. It's going to go into a foreign key over here, and we want no, not that. Don't import that either. I'm screwing this up. Don't import. I want the parent first name to go to first name right here. Import right there. So these are the only 2 bits of data I have. I'm going to say import. I'm going to say save the script. I'm going to run the script. Now, if this works correctly, over here, I have, look at that. It brought in the first parent, right? So this is the primary key for the Guardian, guard 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But this is a student ID, which matches over here. So if I go to record 1 over here for Margaret, for Steve Allen, it's not Margaret, it's Steve Allen. It actually happens to match to Richard right here. So now I've got to do the import a second time, because each parent is going to have its own record over here. Each birthing person who may or may not have given birth is going to be over here in their own separate record. File. I keep trying to do it manually. I'm going to go back to scripts. I'm going to say import parent 1. I'm going to duplicate the script. I'm going to say import parent 2, I'm going to put a couple more returns in here so you can see the difference. So if I'm on this script, that's import, this script import, this script import. Each one's slightly different. These spaces mean nothing. It's just visual for me to see the difference. This time I'm going to come in here. I'm going to specify the import order. I'm not going to go from first parent. I'm going to say don't import. I'm going to say import from the other parent first name, right? Is that what that is? Other parent first name right here. And I'm going to say import this field, but it has to go into the first name of the parent over here. So I just moved it. I basically did the import. I slid it down one. Okay. I say, okay, I'm going to save the script. I'm going to run the script. Play. Now I have 66 records total, 33 imported twice, right? If I come back over here, there you go. Parent 1, parent 2. We had to do separate imports. So the critical element is understanding you have to have a unique item in your data source so you could do multiple imports against that. If I was going to import into the financial section, like what do they order, like an orders table, then I would do the number 1 again, and then I would come over here and import the order that you needed. So Elliot, are we following what I did? I've covered the critical part here, the critical essential element. By the way, all this is in that paid training that you purchased. And I explain it slightly differently. So if this doesn't make sense, go back and watch that video. It's called multi-table imports or multiple imports. Although here's the thing, a lot of time people give me spreadsheets, they don't have a unique ID in there. Most of the time it doesn't look like this at all. It looks like this. Vast majority of the time people give me like if you come up over here to like a contact spreadsheet over here, like contacts right here, there wouldn't, and it's kind of a mess, but there's no unique number in here, right? Well, the cell phone should be unique or the date of birth should be unique. Dude, I'm telling you, they're not unique. Just trust me on this. You think that two people, I'd have two, in a company with 30 some odd people, I have 2 Steve Allens. How is that even possible? Okay, but it happened. And I said, well, that was an outlier. Never happened again. A year later, I have 2 Nathan Allens. What might cause the import script to not remember the import order? Here is the rub with that. In the old days, it would frequently forget. There was bugs in the product, would frequently forget the import order. What will happen, and why I generally don't like imports unless your import source is like locked in concrete. Like notice over here, I added a column, I removed the column. What people in business like to do, this is a really great question Ken asked. If I set a script, basically what Ken says, I set up an import over here on some file. I walked away. I came back 6 months later. I did the import, and this shit didn't line up at all. The field data went everywhere. It's like spewing data out of a hose, like a fire hydrant of data going the wrong place. Here's the rub. It depends on how you set the import order up right here. At the top right, I would zoom in right here if you could. You have matching names, last order, import order, custom order. A lot of this has gotten better and smarter, but it got to be a point where if you remove the column, in your Excel dump or whatever it is, CSV or whatever file it is, if you remove the column, FileMaker would lose its mind. So if you set up an import, it's saved in a script, then your source suddenly changes. Like for example, you say, hey, if you go to an IT guy, and you tell them, a guy or IT gal, if you go to them and they say, hey, I'm going to do an import from now on, I need you guys to dump some data out of your Oracle database. The first thing the IT person is going to tell you to kiss their ass. Then you have to go to your boss, it's going to talk to their boss, talk to the head of IT, said you should cooperate. And that guy or gal goes, okay, fine, I'll cooperate. So then you get this dump and you say to them, we are going to need this dump once a month, every month. If you get that kind of data coming from them, it will be reliable and the format won't change because they will write a script in their own SQL Oracle system that will do an export. However, the flip side of that is that the IT person knows it's being recurring, so they set up something that maybe it's not scheduled, but they don't have to redo the import order every time. They don't want to do it manually every time. Now, I'm going to change gears. We're going to go and ask, I need another puppet here. It would be the marketing department puppet. So you work at an organization where you have marketing people who are not technical people, and you say, hey, I need a dump. And they say, no problem, we'll give you a dump. And what happens is that every time they give you a dump, the columns are in different orders, or the columns are changed, the titles are changed. Who knows? But you're dealing with people who, if they can The fact that they can use Excel is a minor miracle, okay? And I'm not being mean. I'm just saying that's the way their job is, to drive demand for a product. Sales is designed to take your money. Marketing designed is to make you lustful so you want to buy the product, right? Engineering is supposed to build the product that the marketing people make you lustful for, that the salespeople take your money on. So when you're dealing with salespeople and or marketing people, generally not super technical. So the idea of them giving you a consistent Excel spreadsheet is a problem. You should expect it to be a problem. You complaining about it won't help, because they won't understand that you've read the future. You've used your telepathic powers to look into the future and to know that when they do it again next week or the week after, they're going to do it differently. And your script will be screwed up. So normally what happens is that the source changes, is the answer to Ken's question. That why it changes, because there are humans involved, okay? Or you've got a bug in FileMaker. That's why although I always like to have it saved in the script, so I don't have to reproduce it. I just pop it open. I change the import order if something needs to be changed. It's all right there. There are my exports, columns are not changing. So you're telling me that FileMaker, you're generating the same exports and you're doing the import, and FileMaker is losing its import order. Okay, I would tell you that the export has changed somehow. Either the column at the top has changed or the position of the columns has changed. Maybe you don't know about it. I don't know, but clearly you're a highly intelligent person. You know what I'm saying? Back in FileMaker 4, 5, and 6, we did a lot of imports because we had to do them that way. We were always kind of really worried about. I hated imports. I considered them horrifically unreliable. I stay away from imports if I can at all possibly do that. Obviously, if we're doing a one-time import for like school students, stuff like that. But if I have, like I have two tables in FileMaker, and I need to move data from table A to B, I try like hell to stay away from an import. I hate that. I'd rather have it do a loop and do a bunch of scripted set fields, because it gives you more precise finesse control doing that loopy thing, because you can code. If you find a bug, you can code your way around the bug or whatever the break in logic is. If you, for some reason, do an import and you're running this import and you only want to import certain things and certain conditions and certain whatever, this import is a one step and it kind of just does it, right? It's kind of this carpet bombing kind of, it's a little bit like a nuke, right? It goes off. You can't intervene and precisely control what it does. That's why if I was going to move data between two FileMaker sources, I would have a loop that would set some variables, whatever, bring them over, establish a relationship, bring them across, de-establish relationship, something. I hate imports, but they are essentially useful for kind of one-off imports. And once again, if you're trying to have a reliable system where people don't lose their minds and call you, you're on vacation, your office calls, hey, it doesn't work, right? You want to avoid that, like I do, then stay away from imports on any sort of routine process. Unless it's coming out of Excel, there's no way around it. You're going to have to deal with that. What you could do, though, is you could just import it into, like, just import all the columns into a temporary table, right? A temporary table. Then once it's all in a FileMaker table, then you could triage it from there, right? You could have A, B, C. You could do it that way too. Before you really commit to it, you could bring it into a temporary table in FileMaker, look at it, examine it, triage it, or not, if you can. Depends if you have the logic there for that. All right, cool. Well, I don't have anything else at the moment. Tomorrow's going to be open Q&A with Hogel and Calvin. Actually, two of the sharpest guys I have in the company. Really sharp people. I have the highest regard for them. Much more talented, frankly, than I am. I'm better at explaining stuff than more beginner and intermediate people, but they're both very much seniory. So if you want to throw a question up, even about calendars or add-ons, stuff like that, as long as they are comfortable in fielding it cold, a cold question, they will do that. And their goal tomorrow is to direct people where to go. In the future, when you're stuck, where do you go besides Ask Nick or Ask Richard? Can you go in our training and look at a certain place for it? That'd be great. So, okay.
Okay, I think that we should be good. So
That's
I'm
it.
ready to
All right.
roll the music.
I'm going to roll the music. Have a good day, folks. See you tomorrow on Friday.